Millionaire ignores poor kids, singing, until a familiar song forces him to face the daughter he lost forever. Her feet were wrapped in plastic bags. Her voice shivered in the cold, but the melody floated gently through the icy air. She smiled, because her mother once said, "Sing, and your heart will never feel empty." The millionaire walked by without a glance, until he recognized that melody. The song his missing daughter had written, the one he never dared to hear until now. Benjamin Hayes, 58 and draped in wealth, hurried down the frost-bitten Chicago street. His Burberry coat whipped against the December wind as he passed a cluster of street children huddled near a shuttered storefront. Their voices, thin and desperate, begged for spare change. He kept walking, eyes fixed ahead, until a single voice pierced through his armor of indifference. A frail girl, no more than 9, began to sing. Her voice trembled with cold, but the melody struck Benjamin like a physical blow. He stopped mid-stride, his expensive leather shoes scraping against frozen pavement. The song was familiar, impossibly familiar, like a half-remembered dream. Every heart has a song, every soul needs to sing. Her voice carried through the bitter air, Benjamin's breath caught in his throat. The melody unlocked something deep within him, a memory he'd buried for decades. His daughter Emily, barely 16, had sung those words to him one night long ago. He'd dismissed her then, told her music was for dreamers and failures. The crowd flowed around him as he stood frozen. The girl continued singing, her small hands cupped for coins, her eyes distant yet hopeful. She wore a threadbare jacket too large for her frame, and her feet were wrapped in plastic bags stuffed into worn sneakers. A memory crashed over him. Emily's face, tears streaming as she clutched her guitar. "Please, Dad, just listen," she'd begged, but he hadn't. He'd been too busy building his empire to hear the song his daughter needed to sing. Benjamin tried to move toward the girl, but the crowd surged between them. By the time he pushed through, she was gone, vanished into the sea of hurried pedestrians. Only her voice remained, echoing in his mind like a ghost. He stood alone on the corner, the melody haunting him. Something inside had cracked open, something he'd kept sealed for 20 years. The song followed him as he walked away, each note a reminder of what he'd lost. That night, in his penthouse overlooking Lake Michigan, Benjamin sat in darkness. The girl's voice wouldn't leave him. How could she know that song? Emily had written it alone in her room, never performed it publicly. She disappeared the night he'd rejected her dreams, leaving nothing but silence. His hands trembled as he poured another scotch. The song played on repeat in his mind, each word a dagger of regret. Outside, snow began to fall, covering the city in white. Benjamin stared into the swirling flakes, wondering if he'd imagined the whole thing. But deep down, he knew he hadn't. That voice, that song, they were real, and somehow, impossibly, they were connected to the daughter he'd lost. As the clock struck midnight, Benjamin made a decision. Tomorrow he would find that girl. He had to know how she knew Emily's song. The music had awakened something in him, a desperate need to understand what he'd thrown away all those years ago. The snow continued to fall as Benjamin finally drifted into fitful sleep, the melody still playing in his dreams. Somewhere in the frozen city, a little girl clutched a battered guitar, unaware that her song had just changed everything. Chicago, 1995. Benjamin Hayes was 38, ambitious and ruthless. His real estate empire was expanding rapidly, consuming every waking hour. His wife had died young, leaving him alone with their daughter Emily, a quiet girl who found solace in music. Emily was 16 that summer, spending hours in her room with an old guitar. Benjamin barely noticed, too focused on acquisition deals and board meetings. Music was a distraction, he believed, a waste of time that wouldn't pay bills or build futures. One humid July evening, Emily gathered her courage. She'd been working on a song for months, pouring her heart into every chord and lyric. She tiptoed to her father's study, guitar in hand, hoping to share something meaningful with him. "Dad," she whispered, pushing open the heavy oak door. Benjamin looked up from his contracts, irritation flashing across his face. "What is it, Emily? I'm busy. I wrote a song for you. Could you listen? Please." He sighed heavily, checking his watch. "Make it quick." Emily's fingers trembled as she began to play. Her voice, pure and hopeful, filled the room. Every heart has a song. Every soul needs to sing. Benjamin lasted 30 seconds before interrupting. "Emily, stop. This is ridiculous. You're 16 years old. You should be focusing on real subjects, preparing for college. Music is for people who can't succeed at anything else." Emily's face crumpled. "But Dad, it's who I am." "No," he snapped, standing abruptly. "It's a childish fantasy. You're a haze. We don't waste our lives on pipe dreams. If you want to amount to anything, you'll forget this nonsense and focus on what matters." Tears streamed down Emily's cheeks as she fled the room. Benjamin heard her bedroom door slam, followed by muffled sobs. He convinced himself he was doing the right thing, tough love to prepare her for the real world. The next morning, Emily was gone. Her room was empty except for a note. "I can't be who you want me to be." "I'm sorry." Benjamin called the police, hired private investigators, but months of searching yielded nothing. Officers suggested she'd run away with a boyfriend, typical teenage rebellion. Benjamin accepted this explanation, burying his guilt beneath layers of work and wealth. Years passed. Benjamin's empire grew, but his personal life remained empty. He never remarried, never sought therapy, never spoke of Emily. Her room became a storage space, her guitar donated to goodwill. He erased her from his life, convincing himself it was easier than facing his failure as a father. Now, 20 years later, that buried past had resurfaced. The girl on the street, her voice, her song, had shattered his carefully constructed walls. As Benjamin paced his penthouse, memories flooded back. Emily's laughter, her gentle nature, the way she'd hum while making breakfast. He opened a hidden drawer in his desk, pulling out a faded photograph. Emily smiled back at him, guitar in hand, eyes full of dreams he'd crushed. The pain was unbearable. "What happened to you?" he whispered to the photograph. "Where did you go?" Dawn broke over Chicago, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. Benjamin hadn't slept. His mind raced with questions. How did that street child know Emily's song? Was it coincidence? A message from beyond? He dressed quickly, determination replacing despair. He would find that girl. He would uncover the truth, no matter the cost. The song had awakened something he'd thought long dead, hope. As Benjamin stepped into the elevator, he clutched Emily's photograph. 20 years of silence were about to end. The melody still echoed in his mind, pulling him toward a truth he wasn't sure he was ready to face. Benjamin spent days searching Chicago streets, retracing his steps to where he'd heard the girl sing. The bitter cold seemed to mock his efforts as he wandered through neighborhoods he'd never visited, despite living in the city for decades. On the fourth day, he ventured into a rundown district where boarded windows outnumbered occupied storefronts. The air smelled of decay and forgotten dreams. In a dingy diner called Marlowe's Kitchen, he heard it again, Emily's melody, sung by a different child's voice. The boy couldn't have been more than 7, sitting at the counter while an elderly woman in a grease-stained apron watched him eat. Benjamin's heart raced as he approached, trying to appear casual. "That song," he said to the woman. "Where did the boy learn it?" Mrs. Marlowe eyed him suspiciously, noting his expensive coat and polished shoes. "Why are you asking?" I heard it before, from another child, a girl." Recognition flickered in her eyes. "You mean Emma, little thing with the old guitar?" Benjamin's pulse quickened. "Yes, that's her. Do you know where I can find her?" Mrs. Marlowe's expression hardened. "Mister, I don't know who you are, but these kids got enough problems without strangers poking around. Please," Benjamin's voice cracked. "That song, it belonged to my daughter. She wrote it years ago." The old woman studied him carefully. "Emma sings it sometimes. Says her mama taught her. Poor thing's been on the street since her mama died." "Her mother?" Benjamin leaned forward. "What was her name?" "Never knew. Emma don't talk much about her. Just carries that beat-up guitar everywhere, singing that song like it's keeping her mama alive." Benjamin's mind reeled. Could it be possible? "Where does Emma stay?" Mrs. Marlowe hesitated, then sighed. "Old St. Augustine's Church, few blocks east. It's abandoned, but the kids sleep there when it's cold." "But mister," she grabbed his sleeve, "these children been hurt enough. If you mean harm." "I don't," Benjamin assured her. "I just need to understand." As twilight fell, Benjamin found St. Augustine's, its Gothic spires reaching toward a darkening sky. The building stood hollow and forgotten, windows shattered, doors hanging askew. He approached cautiously, hearing voices from within. Through a broken window he saw them, a dozen children huddled around makeshift fires in metal drums. And there, in the corner, sat Emma. She held a guitar so worn it seemed held together by faith alone. Benjamin's breath caught as she began to play. The instrument was barely functional, but she coaxed music from it with desperate love. Her voice rose, pure despite the cold. Every heart has a song, every soul needs to sing. Tears blurred Benjamin's vision. The guitar, he recognized it now. Emily's first guitar, the one she'd saved for with babysitting money. The same instrument she'd played that night in his study. He stepped closer, but his movement caught Emma's attention. Her eyes widened in fear, and she scrambled backward, clutching the guitar protectively. "Wait," Benjamin called softly. "I won't hurt you." But Emma had vanished into the shadows, leaving only the echo of her song. The other children scattered like startled birds. Benjamin stood alone in the ruined church, understanding dawning like a terrible sunrise. The connections were forming. Emily, the song, this child with his daughter's guitar. He'd failed Emily, driven her away with his coldness. Now, fate had brought him face to face with her legacy, and he'd frightened her too. As he turned to leave, he noticed something glinting in the firelight, a small locket dropped in Emma's haste to flee. He picked it up with trembling hands. Inside was a faded photograph. Emily, older than he remembered, holding a baby. On the back, in Emily's handwriting, "Emma, my song, my heart." The truth hit him like a physical blow. Emma wasn't just some street child who'd learned Emily's song. She was Emily's daughter, his granddaughter. Benjamin returned to St. Augustine's the next evening, moving with deliberate care. He'd traded his business attire for a simple jacket and carried a bag of sandwiches from Marlowe's kitchen. The church loomed dark against the winter sky, but firelight flickered through broken windows. He found Emma alone in a corner, meticulously cleaning her battered guitar with a torn piece of cloth. Her small fingers worked with reverence, as if the instrument were made of gold rather than splintered wood. She hummed softly, Emily's melody, always Emily's melody. "Hello," Benjamin whispered from the shadows. Emma startled but didn't run this time. Her eyes, startlingly familiar, studied him warily. "You're the man from yesterday." "Yes, I brought food." He held up the bag, keeping his distance. "Mrs. Marlowe made them." Hunger battled caution in her expression. Finally, she nodded. Benjamin placed the bag halfway between them and retreated. Emma approached it like a wild animal, snatching it quickly before returning to her corner. As she ate, Benjamin noticed details he'd missed before. The careful way she saved half the sandwich, the protective curve of her body around the guitar, the delicate features that echoed Emily's. "That's a special song you sing," he ventured. Emma's chewing slowed. "It was my mama's. She said it was magic, that someday it would help me find—" She stopped, suddenly suspicious. "Find what?" She shook her head, lips pressed tight. Benjamin didn't push. Instead, he sat on the cold floor, keeping respectful distance. "I knew someone who played that song once," he said softly. "A long time ago." Emma's eyes widened slightly. She set down her sandwich, fingers unconsciously stroking the guitar's neck. "Really?" "Yes, she had a guitar like yours. She was very talented." "Mama was talented too," Emma whispered. "She said music could heal anything, even broken hearts." Benjamin's throat tightened. "Did she teach you to play?" Emma nodded. "Before she got sick, she said I had to keep singing no matter what. Said the song would lead me home someday." "Home. To family." Emma's voice dropped to barely a whisper. "She said I had family somewhere, that they'd hear the song and know." Tears threatened to spill from Benjamin's eyes. Emily had held on to hope even in her darkest moments, believing music could bridge the gap he'd created. "Your locket," he said gently. "You dropped it yesterday." Emma's hand flew to her neck, panic flashing across her face. Benjamin quickly produced the locket from his pocket. "I kept it safe for you." She approached cautiously, snatching it from his outstretched hand. "Thank you," she mumbled, clutching it to her chest. "The picture inside, that's your mother?" Emma nodded, then surprised him by opening the locket to look at the photo. "She's beautiful, right? I look like her, people say." "You do," Benjamin agreed, his voice thick. "Very much." For a moment, trust flickered in Emma's eyes. She began to speak, then stopped as other children entered the church, eyeing Benjamin with suspicion. "I should go," he said, standing slowly. "But I'd like to visit again, if that's okay." Emma hesitated, then gave a tiny nod. As Benjamin turned to leave, her voice stopped him. "Mister, why do you care about the song?" He paused at the doorway, choosing his words carefully. "Because sometimes music finds us when we need it most, even after years of silence." Walking home through the frozen streets, Benjamin clutched the memory of Emma's tentative trust like a fragile treasure. He'd seen Emily in every gesture, every expression. The guitar, the song, the locket, pieces of a puzzle falling into place. But trust would take time. He couldn't rush this, couldn't risk driving Emma away like he'd driven Emily. He would be patient, gentle. He would earn the right to be her grandfather. As snow began falling again, Benjamin made a silent promise to the daughter he'd lost. He would protect Emma, would give her the love he'd denied Emily. The song had brought them together, and he wouldn't fail this time. Benjamin's investigation consumed his days. He hired discreet private investigators, visited county records offices, and searched hospital databases for any trace of Emily's life after she'd left home. Each fragment he uncovered cut deeper than the last. At Memorial General Hospital, buried in charity ward records, he found Emily's admission documents from 5 years ago. Pneumonia, complicated by years of malnutrition and homelessness. She died alone on Christmas Eve, too proud or too afraid to contact the father who'd rejected her. There was a child, the records clerk mentioned casually. The notes say someone from Child Services took her. Benjamin's hands shook as he called in favors, pulling strings to access sealed adoption records. The trail was muddy. Emma had bounced between foster homes before disappearing into the streets. His breakthrough came from an unexpected source. James Whitmore, Emily's high school friend, now living in a halfway house. Benjamin found him in a community center, older and worn but clear-eyed. "Emily?" Whitmore's face fell. "Man, I tried to help her. She was living in shelters, working minimum wage jobs. When she got pregnant, she was terrified." "Why didn't she come home?" Benjamin asked, though he already knew. Whitmore's laugh was bitter. You kidding? After what you said to her, she'd rather starve than face you again. The words struck like physical blows. What happened to her? She tried, man. Really tried. Worked 3 jobs while pregnant, even managed to rent a tiny apartment. She was determined Emma would have better. Emma, Benjamin repeated softly. Yeah, beautiful baby. Emily used to say Emma was her second chance at happiness. Whitmore paused. She got sick maybe 3 years ago. No insurance, no money for doctors. By the time she went to the hospital, Benjamin closed his eyes against the pain. And Emma? Foster system got her. But those places... Whitmore shrugged. Kids probably better off on the streets. The guitar, Benjamin pressed. Emily's guitar. She kept it all those years. Even when she had nothing else to sell, she kept that guitar. Said it was Emma's inheritance, the only thing of value she could leave her. The final piece clicked into place. Emily had inscribed the guitar, "For Papa, one day you'll hear." She forgave you, Whitmore said suddenly. At the end, said she understood. You were scared too, just showed it different. Benjamin couldn't speak. The magnitude of his failure, the weight of Emily's forgiveness, it threatened to crush him. That evening, he returned to St. Augustine's, but found it empty. Panic rose in his throat until Mrs. Marlowe called his cell, a number he'd given her for emergencies. Police swept the area, she said tersely, looking for homeless kids to place in state care. Where's Emma? Don't know. Those kids scatter like leaves when uniforms show up. Benjamin spent the night searching, driven by newfound desperation. He couldn't lose Emma like he'd lost Emily. Dawn found him exhausted and defeated, until a small voice called from an alley. Mister! Emma stood there, guitar clutched tight, eyes wide with fear. They took the others. I hid. And come with me, Benjamin said gently. I'll keep you safe. She shook her head. Can't trust grown-ups. Mama said... She stopped, confused. But Mama also said the song would find family. Benjamin knelt in the dirty snow, meeting her eyes. Emma, I need to tell you something about your mother's song, about who wrote it. Emma stepped closer, drawn by the pain in his voice. You knew her? Yes, Benjamin whispered. I knew her. And I failed her, just like I'm failing you now. And for the first time, Emma reached out, her small hand touching his sleeve. Mama said everyone deserves second chances. That's what her song means. Benjamin's tears fell freely as he grasped the profound truth. Emily hadn't just left him a granddaughter, she'd left him a path to redemption. But the sound of approaching sirens sent Emma fleeing again, leaving Benjamin alone in the alley with nothing but determination and regret. Winter deepened its grip on Chicago as Benjamin searched frantically for Emma. The police sweeps had scattered the street children, and St. Augustine's stood empty. Each day without finding her felt like losing Emily all over again. He haunted the places Emma might go, Marlowe's kitchen, shelters, abandoned buildings. Mrs. Marlowe helped when she could, but even her network of street contacts yielded nothing. Emma had vanished like morning frost. These kids know how to disappear, she told Benjamin. Survival skill. Desperate, Benjamin tried using his influence to access child services records, but hit walls of bureaucracy. His wealth meant nothing to overworked social workers, suspicious of his motives. You claim to be related, one administrator asked skeptically. One. Where's your proof? Why now, after all these years? He couldn't explain without revealing the full story, a story that might lead to Emma being permanently taken from him before he could prove his claim. 2 weeks passed. Benjamin barely slept, barely ate. He liquidated assets, preparing to do whatever necessary to secure Emma's future. But first, he had to find her. Then came the blizzard, a brutal storm that buried Chicago under 2 feet of snow. As temperatures plummeted, Benjamin's fear grew. Emma was out there somewhere, with nothing but a thin jacket and broken guitar. He joined volunteer search teams, distributed blankets and food, all while scanning every small face for familiar eyes. On the third night of the storm, his phone rang. "She's at the old Riverside Market," Mrs. Marlowe's voice crackled. "Bad shape. Hurry." Benjamin drove recklessly through snow-packed streets, finding the abandoned market building. Inside, huddled in a corner behind empty shelves, lay Emma. Her lips were blue, her breathing shallow. The guitar lay beside her, as if she'd tried to play one last song. "Emma!" Benjamin gathered her in his arms. She was burning with fever despite the cold. Her eyes fluttered open. "The song," she whispered. "Mama said, wait for the song." "I'm here," Benjamin choked out. "I heard it. I found you." At the hospital, doctors worked to stabilize her. Pneumonia, malnutrition, exposure, a devastating combination. Benjamin paced the waiting room, tormented by history repeating itself. "Are you family?" a nurse asked. "Yes," he answered without hesitation. "I'm her grandfather." Hours crawled by. Benjamin sat by Emma's bedside, holding her small hand, whispering apologies to both grandmother and child. In her delirium, Emma hummed fragments of Emily's song. "Please," Benjamin prayed for the first time in decades, "don't take her too." "Let me make this right." Dawn broke, and with it Emma's fever. Her eyes opened clearer now, fixing on Benjamin's tear-stained face. "You stayed," she whispered. "Always," he promised. "I'm never leaving you again." She studied him intently. "The song brought you, didn't it? Like Mama said." Benjamin nodded, unable to speak. "She told me. Before she died. She said her papa would hear the song someday. That he'd know." Emma's voice grew stronger. "Are you him? Are you my mama's papa?" The moment of truth had arrived. Benjamin took a deep breath. "Yes, Emma, I'm your grandfather, and I'm so sorry I wasn't there for your mother. For you." Emma processed this silently. Then, to Benjamin's amazement, she squeezed his hand. "Mama forgave you. She said love makes mistakes sometimes, but music makes them right." Through the hospital window, snow continued falling, but inside, warmth began to grow. Benjamin held his granddaughter's hand, feeling Emily's presence in the room, in the forgiveness freely given. "Will you teach me?" he asked softly. "The rest of your mother's song." Emma smiled. Emily's smile. "Only if you promise to listen this time." "I promise," Benjamin vowed. "I'm listening now." As Emma drifted back to sleep, Benjamin began planning. No more running, no more searching. He would build a new life with his granddaughter, one where music filled every corner. The song had led them to each other, and now their real journey could begin. Recovery came slowly for Emma. Benjamin transformed his penthouse into a healing sanctuary, but trust couldn't be bought with luxury. Emma remained guarded, speaking little, flinching at sudden movements. The trauma of years on the streets didn't vanish with soft beds and warm meals. Benjamin learned patience. Instead of pushing, he created space for Emma to approach him. He filled the apartment with art supplies, books, and most importantly, musical instruments, though none could replace her battered guitar. "It needs fixing," he offered one morning, seeing her struggle with the warped neck. Emma clutched it protectively. "It's all I have of Mama." "We could restore it," Benjamin suggested gently. "Make it strong again, but keep its soul, like your mother would want." After days of consideration, Emma agreed. Benjamin found Chicago's finest luthier, an elderly craftsman who understood the guitar's significance. Together they watched him work, reinforcing cracked wood, replacing broken parts while preserving every scratch and worn spot that held memories. "See this?" The luthier pointed to initials carved inside. EH plus EH, mother and daughter. Benjamin traced the letters, feeling Emily's presence. The craftsman worked reverently, teaching Emma about each repair, involving her in decisions. While the guitar was being restored, Benjamin focused on invisible repairs. He hired tutors for Emma's education, but didn't force formal lessons. He cooked meals himself, learning her favorites, creating new traditions. One evening, while making hot chocolate, Emma's first taste of the luxury, she spoke unprompted. "Mama said you were rich but poor. I didn't understand then." Benjamin stirred the chocolate slowly. She was right. I had everything except what mattered. "She didn't hate you," Emma continued. "She said you were scared of feelings like some people are scared of the dark." The simplicity of Emily's understanding, passed to her daughter, humbled Benjamin completely. "Your mother was wise. She said the song would teach you to feel again." Emma's words planted a seed. Benjamin began forming a plan, not just for them, but for other children like Emma, other families broken by misunderstanding and pride. The restored guitar arrived in a simple case, no fancy packaging. Emma opened it reverently, tears flowing as she saw her mother's instrument renewed, but unchanged in spirit. Every nick and scratch remained, but now the guitar sang clearly, strongly. "Play for me?" Benjamin asked. Emma hesitated, then positioned the guitar. Her fingers found familiar chords, and Emily's song filled the penthouse, but halfway through she stopped. "I can't remember the ending. Mama never taught me." "Maybe," Benjamin suggested carefully, "we could write a new ending together." Emma considered this. "Mama would like that. She said songs should grow like people." They began working together, grandfather and granddaughter, building trust through music. Benjamin learned basic chords, his unpracticed fingers struggling, while Emma patiently guided him. Weeks passed. Emma grew stronger, more confident. She started asking questions about Emily's childhood, and Benjamin answered honestly, including his failures. "I was afraid," he admitted one evening, "of being hurt, of losing control, of loving too much." "Are you afraid now?" Benjamin smiled, terrified. "But I'm not running anymore." Christmas approached, the anniversary of Emily's death. Benjamin dreaded it, but Emma had other plans. "We should celebrate Mama," she declared. "Not be sad. She loved Christmas." They decorated together, filling the penthouse with lights and music. On Christmas Eve, Emma gave Benjamin a gift, a simple notebook. "For your feelings," she explained. "Mama said writing helps when words are hard." That night, Benjamin wrote his first entry. "Today, my granddaughter taught me that love doesn't end with death. It transforms, like music changing keys, finding new harmonies in unexpected places." As snow fell outside, Emma played Emily's song on her restored guitar. This time, when she reached the unfinished ending, Benjamin hummed along, not the notes Emily might have written, but new ones, born from their shared healing. The song evolved, just as Emily had predicted. It became their song now, a bridge between past and present, loss and redemption, silence and music. Spring arrived, bringing profound changes. Benjamin sold his real estate empire, shocking Chicago's business world. He kept only what they needed, investing the rest in a vision born from late-night conversations with Emma. "Mama always said music should be shared," Emma explained one evening, drawing pictures of children playing instruments. She wanted to teach, but couldn't afford a place. Benjamin studied her sketches, children of all backgrounds creating music together. "What if we made that happen? A place where music lives?" Emma's eyes widened. "Really? Your mother's dream, fulfilled through us." They found an abandoned music store in Emma's old neighborhood. Benjamin purchased it quietly, involving Emma in every decision. She chose colors, helped plan layouts, insisted on keeping prices low. "It's not for making money," she said firmly. "It's for making music." Mrs. Marlowe became their first ally, spreading word through her network. Street children began appearing, curious but cautious. Emma understood their hesitation. "They need to trust it's real," she told Benjamin, "that it won't disappear." Benjamin hired teachers from local conservatories, but also musicians from the streets. People who understood survival and art weren't mutually exclusive. He worked alongside contractors, learning to repair and build, his soft hands growing calloused. Emma blossomed. She attended school but spent afternoons at A Song for You, the name she chose for their center. She helped younger children, sharing her mother's wisdom wrapped in her own experience. "Music heals," she'd tell newcomers, echoing Emily, "but you have to let it." The center grew organically. Benjamin resisted publicity, preferring word-of-mouth growth. He wanted it to belong to the community, not to him. Summer brought their first recital, a small gathering in the center's repaired performance space. Emma opened with Emily's song, now complete with verses about forgiveness and second chances. Watching her perform, Benjamin saw Emily clearly, not the teenager he'd failed, but the woman she'd become. Strong, compassionate, unwavering in her belief that music could transform lives. After the recital, a woman approached. "My daughter wants to learn violin, but we can't afford." "Scholarships are available," Benjamin interrupted gently. No child turned away. Emma tugged his sleeve later. "You didn't even ask about money." "Because it doesn't matter. What matters is that she wants to learn. Mama would be proud." Those words meant more than any business success Benjamin had ever achieved. Fall arrived with challenges. City inspectors questioned permits. Established music schools viewed them as competition, and some donors wanted recognition Benjamin refused to give. "Let them think what they want," he told Emma. "We know why we're doing this." Emma nodded, wise beyond her years. "Mama said the best gifts are anonymous." They weathered each storm together. Emma's presence grounded Benjamin, reminded him why they'd started. Her resilience, inherited from Emily, inspired everyone around them. By winter's return, A Song for You had become a sanctuary. Children who'd never touched instruments now played in ensembles. Parents found community. Teachers discovered purpose beyond paychecks. On the anniversary of Emily's death, they held a memorial concert. Emma played her mother's song, now their song, with the confidence of someone who'd found her place in the world. "This is for Mama," she announced. "Who taught me that music lives forever, even when people can't?" Benjamin watched from the back, tears flowing freely. He'd spent decades building an empire of concrete and steel. Now, with Emma's help, he'd built something eternal, a legacy of love and music that would outlive them both. That night, Emma found him in the center's office, looking at Emily's photograph. "Do you think she knows?" Emma asked. "About all this?" Benjamin pulled her close. "I think she planned it all along. The song wasn't just to find me, it was to create this. Through us." Emma smiled, leaning against him. "We should write more songs." "Yes," Benjamin agreed. "We have a lot of music left to make." Outside, snow began falling, but inside, A Song for You, warmth and music filled every corner. The circle was complete, not ended but transformed into something beautiful and enduring. As spring returned, Emma discovered an envelope hidden in her restored guitar case. Inside, a letter written in Benjamin's careful handwriting. "Dear Emma, I was wrong about everything that matters. Your mother tried to show me that love speaks through music, but I was too afraid to listen. You've taught me what she couldn't, that it's never too late to learn the language of the heart. This place we've built isn't just a music school. It's my apology to your mother, my promise to you, and my hope for every child who needs to sing their truth." I can't change the past, but I can make sure her song never stops playing. With all my love, Grandpa." Emma traced the words, understanding flooding through her. The guitar case held another surprise, a key with an address tag. "What's this?" she asked Benjamin that evening. He smiled mysteriously. "Something I've been working on." "Want to see?" They drove to the old warehouse district, stopping before a renovated storefront. The windows were covered, but a small sign hung above. "Coming soon." Benjamin unlocked the door, leading Emma into a beautifully restored music shop. Vintage instruments lined the walls, recording equipment filled one corner, and a small stage occupied the back. "It's beautiful," Emma breathed, "but we already have the center." "This is different," Benjamin explained. "This is your mother's dream, the one she never got to build, a place where young musicians can record, perform, sell their instruments, a complete musical home." Emma wandered through the space, touching guitars, drums, microphones. In the back room, she froze. A glass case held Emily's original guitar, the one she'd played that night in Benjamin's study. "How did you find it?" "I never really lost it," Benjamin admitted. "I kept it in storage, unable to look at it, but unable to let go. Like my love for her." Emma opened the case, lifting the guitar reverently. As she strummed, she noticed something inside, another inscription. "For Emma, my song, my heart, my forever." "She knew," Emma whispered. "Even then, she knew about me." "Your mother loved you before you existed," Benjamin said, "just like she loved me despite everything." They sat together on the small stage, Emily's guitar between them. Emma began playing their song, Emily's original melody, now enriched with their new verses. "We should have a grand opening," Emma suggested. "Invite everyone from the center, the neighborhood." "What would we call it?" Emma thought carefully. "A song for you," she decided. "Like the center, but this is the store Mama dreamed about." Over the next few weeks, they prepared the shop together. Emma insisted on maintaining affordable prices, with payment plans for struggling musicians. They created a consignment section for local artists and dedicated wall space to community announcements. The night before opening, Emma wandered through the quiet store, touching each instrument. Benjamin found her sitting by Emily's guitar display. "Scared?" he asked. "No, just thinking how Mama would have arranged everything. She'd be proud of what you've created." "We created," Emma corrected. "You and me." Opening day brought unexpected crowds. Former street children, now music students, performed throughout the day. Parents shared stories of how the center had changed their families. Local musicians donated instruments to the shop's lending library. Mrs. Marlowe arrived with trays of food. "Free refreshments," she announced, "my contribution to Emily's dream." As sunset approached, Emma took the stage alone. The crowd quieted as she lifted her restored guitar. "This song started with my mama," she began. "She wrote it hoping someone would hear her heart. It found my grandpa, brought us together, and created all this." She gestured to the shop, the people, the community they'd built. Emma played Emily's song, now evolved into something richer. Halfway through, she stopped, looking at Benjamin. "Come up," she called. "Help me finish it." Benjamin hesitated, then joined her on stage. Together, they played the final verse, one they'd written about redemption, family, and music's power to heal across time. As the last notes faded, applause erupted. But Emma wasn't finished. She reached into her pocket, pulling out a folded paper. "Grandpa doesn't know this," she announced, "but I found Mama's last journal. She wrote this the week before she died." Emma read, "If you're reading this, my song found you. I always knew it would. Papa, if you're listening now, know that I forgave you long ago. Love doesn't end with anger. It waits, like music waits in silence, for the right moment to play again. Benjamin wept openly as Emma continued. "Take care of my Emma. Teach her that music isn't about perfection, it's about truth. And the truth is, I loved you always, even when we couldn't find the same key." The shop fell silent. Emma folded the paper, walked to Benjamin, and wrapped her arms around him. "She knew," Emma whispered. "She always knew you'd find me." In that moment, surrounded by the community they'd built, Benjamin understood Emily's final gift. She hadn't just left him a granddaughter. She'd orchestrated their healing through the very music he'd once rejected. As the celebration continued into evening, Emma and Benjamin played together, their harmonies telling a story of loss transformed into love, silence broken by song, and a family reunited through the universal language of music. 1 year later, Benjamin walked toward the shop as evening painted Chicago's sky in amber hues. A Song for You had become more than a store. It was the neighborhood's heartbeat, where music lessons merged with life lessons, where broken instruments and broken spirits found restoration. Inside, Emma waited on the small stage, her guitar ready. She was 11 now, taller, more confident, but still carrying her mother's gentle wisdom. The shop was empty except for them, a rare moment of privacy in their busy lives. "You came," she said softly. "Did you doubt I would?" She shook her head. "Not anymore." Without another word, Emma began playing Emily's song, but tonight something was different. After the familiar verses, she continued into new territory, lyrics Benjamin had never heard. "I wrote these for you," she explained, "about second chances, about how love sometimes needs time to find its voice." The words spoke of forgiveness, of understanding that fear often masquerades as anger, that pride can blind us to what matters most. They celebrated the journey from silence to song, from loss to newfound connection. Benjamin listened, tears flowing freely. When she finished, he applauded, but Emma held up her hand. "Your turn," she said, offering him a guitar. "I've been teaching you for a year, time to graduate." Benjamin accepted the instrument nervously. His fingers, once devoted solely to signing contracts, now knew basic chords. He began playing, imperfectly but earnestly, a response to Emma's verses. His lyrics spoke of regret transformed into purpose, of a grandfather learning to love from his granddaughter, of Emily's spirit living on through their music. The melody was simple, but heartfelt, each note a testament to how far they'd come. When he finished, Emma smiled through her own tears. "Mama would say you finally learned to listen." "And to speak," Benjamin added. "Through music." They sat together on the edge of the stage, guitars beside them. Outside, the city continued its evening rhythm, but inside their sanctuary, time seemed suspended. "I found something else in Mama's journal," Emma said, pulling out a worn notebook. Her last entry. She read, "Music is circular like love. It begins with one heart, travels through time, touches other hearts, then returns transformed. Papa will understand this someday. Emma will teach him." Benjamin held the journal gently. "She orchestrated all of this." "Not orchestrated," Emma corrected. "She trusted in music, in love, in us." A comfortable silence settled between them. Then Emma spoke again. "I've been thinking about the future." "Oh, I want to study music formally, Juilliard maybe. But I also want to keep our work here going." "We'll make it happen," Benjamin assured her, "whatever you choose." "That's not what I mean." Emma turned to face him fully. "I want you to promise that if anything happens to me, you'll keep this place alive. Keep helping kids find their songs." Benjamin's heart clenched. "Nothing's going to happen to you." "Promise anyway, for Mama." "I promise. But Emma, why are you thinking about this?" She smiled, Emily's smile. "Because that's what family does. We plan for each other's futures, even the ones we might not see. Understanding dawned. Emma was ensuring the cycle would continue, that the music would never stop, regardless of what tomorrow brought. "You're very much like your mother," Benjamin said softly. "And you're very much the grandfather she always believed you could be." As night deepened, they played together one more time. Emily's song, now truly theirs. The music drifted through the shop, past the instruments waiting for young hands, past Emily's guitar in its place of honor, out into the Chicago night. Their harmonies spoke of redemption completed, of love that transcended time and mistakes, of music's power to heal the deepest wounds. The song had brought them together, and now it would carry their story forward, a legacy of forgiveness, transformation, and the eternal truth that it's never too late to learn the melody of love. In the window, the shop's sign glowed softly, "A song for you." Below it, smaller letters Benjamin had recently added, "In memory of Emily Hayes, who taught us that every heart has a song worth hearing." As they locked up for the night, grandfather and granddaughter walked home together, their footsteps keeping rhythm with the song that would never end. In the end, this is not just a story about loss and redemption. It is a living reminder that love, even when silenced by pride and mistakes, finds a way to sing again. Benjamin and Emma proved that forgiveness is not given through grand gestures, but through small acts of patience, trust, and unwavering presence. Sometimes, the melodies we bury in regret return to heal us in ways we never imagined. What songs from your past are still waiting to be heard? And what did you think of this story? We would love to know your thoughts. If you enjoyed this journey, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new story. Please leave a like to support our work and comment below telling us from which country or city you are watching. It helps us create even better stories for you. And if you want to continue feeling inspired, click on the final screen to watch the next recommended video. Thank you for being with us today.